All right, so let's jump right in. We're diving deep today into the world of pharmaceuticals, but not just anywhere. We're zeroing in on Spain. I've got some fresh market analysis here, really fascinating stuff. Basically, we're going to break down what makes this market tick, how big it is, where it's heading, and what's really driving it.
Exactly. And you might not immediately think of Spain as a pharmaceutical powerhouse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not necessarily the first place that comes to mind.
But this report really highlights just how significant it is. We're talking about a market that pulled in around 32 billion
Yeah,
last year in 2023. I mean, that's a huge number. It's a big deal right there.
32 billion euros. That's not chump change. So this isn't some sleepy market, right? It's got to be growing. What's the outlook? What's on the horizon?
Oh, absolutely. Projections show a clear upward trajectory. By 2025, they're anticipating hitting about US $15.84 billion.
Yeah.
And looking a bit further down the line, by 2029, it's expected to reach US $18.54 billion. What's really interesting is that compound annual growth rate, the ZHER. It's projected at 4.02% from 2025 to 2029. So pretty consistent growth, which really suggests ongoing opportunity in this dynamic energy within the Spanish pharmaceutical sector.
Over 4% year-on-year growth. Yeah, that definitely paints a picture of a market that's moving. And here's what I found really interesting. You'll probably find this interesting too. The report actually ranks Spain as the fourth largest pharmaceutical market in all of Europe and the ninth largest worldwide. I mean, that kind of reframes things, doesn't it?
It really does. It means we need to rethink how we view Spain in the global pharma scene. I mean, for it to be ranked that high, it suggests a mature and influential regulatory environment, a lot of infrastructure, and a substantial demand for pharmaceuticals. That's not just some small player. It's a major hub.
A major hub. Yeah, exactly. So we've got this impressive market clearly growing, and the big question is, what's fueling this engine? The source highlights a few key areas. The first one they mention is generic drugs.
Yeah, and the driving force behind the growth of generics in Spain is really about government initiatives. It's about bringing down those overall healthcare costs, making those essential medicines more affordable, and of course, more accessible to more people.
Right, so opening it up to a wider population.
Exactly. And as the patents for those original brand name drugs expire, you naturally see this shift towards the more cost-effective generic alternatives. And the Spanish government is actively putting policies in place to really encourage that transition.
That makes perfect sense. It's a smart move to kind of broaden access without breaking the bank. Okay, so the second growth area that really jumped out at me is biotechnology medicines. This feels like the leading edge, the truly innovative side of pharmaceuticals, tackling some of the toughest diseases out there.
Absolutely. Biotechnology medicines are right at the forefront of treating these complex, often life-threatening conditions. Think about things like various cancers, autoimmune disorders, really serious stuff. And, advancements in how we actually understand and manipulate biological systems are leading to these incredibly targeted and effective therapies. This is happening globally, and Spain is right there in the mix, and that increasing demand for these really specialized treatments is a big driver of growth in the Spanish market.
Right, so that's where a lot of the excitement is, I imagine. And then the third key area they highlight is digital health solutions. I mean, we see digital transforming practically every aspect of our lives, so it's not surprising to see it playing a big role in pharmaceuticals, too. We're talking about things like those telemedicine platforms and all those health apps on our phones.
Precisely. Digital health solutions are really taking off with consumers. People love the convenience, how accessible it makes everything. Like with telemedicine, that can dramatically improve access to healthcare, especially for folks in more rural areas or places that are kind of underserved. And then all those health apps, they empower individuals to actually be more proactive about managing their health and their well-being. It's really this growing acceptance of digital tools that's opening up all these new doors in the pharmaceutical sector. You're talking about remote patient monitoring, you've got personalized treatment plans delivered digitally, and even things like digital therapeutics. It's actually using software to treat certain conditions. It's merging tech with healthcare in all these exciting ways.
Yeah, creating efficiencies and new opportunities. So we've got these three powerful drivers: generics, cutting costs; biotech, pushing the boundaries of treatment; and digital health, changing how we access and manage healthcare. So who are the big players in this market? I was really struck by the fact that something like 60% of pharmaceutical companies in Spain are foreign-owned. That's a huge amount of international interest and investment.
It really is. For anyone analyzing this market, that high percentage of foreign ownership tells you that global pharmaceutical companies are seeing Spain as this attractive and important market. It implies a pretty favorable business environment, a skilled workforce, and strong potential for return on investment. And the fact that major global players like Bayer, Pfizer, Novartis, Moderna, they all have a pretty significant presence there. That really underscores this point. These are multinational giants operating all over the world, and their commitment to Spain tells you a lot about its strategic value.
It definitely sends a strong signal. And when we look at the leading manufacturers specifically in 2022, the report points to Bayer, Hispania, and Instituto Grifols.
That's right. Bayer Hispania, that's the Spanish arm of the big German multinational. They've got a broad portfolio spanning pharmaceuticals, consumer health products, and even agricultural solutions. Instituto Grifols, on the other hand, is a Spanish multinational focusing on pharmaceuticals and chemicals. They're particularly known for their expertise in blood plasma-derived products. So their positions as these leading manufacturers really showcase the diverse nature of what's happening in pharmaceuticals in Spain, from those global giants to established national champions.
It's a really interesting mix. The report also mentions some specific advantages that make Spain appealing for pharmaceutical businesses, things like VAT benefits and incentives for research and development.
Oh yeah, those are definitely factors that come into play when businesses are making decisions. You've got the reduced VAT rates on those prescription medications and some specific medical supplies. That can mean lower costs for patients and for healthcare providers. And then there are the tax credits for research and development, some pretty substantial credits. We're talking about a 25% credit on general R&D expenses and an even higher 42% on spending that goes above and beyond previous years. That's a huge incentive for companies to choose Spain for innovation.
Yeah, those R&D incentives sound like they could be a game changer for companies looking to be on the cutting edge. The report also mentions specific biotech innovation hubs within Spain, like the Barcelona Science Park and the Madrid Science Park. What can you tell us about those?
These hubs are really vital. They're like ecosystems for nurturing collaboration and driving innovation within biotech and pharmaceuticals. They basically bring together academic researchers working on the fundamental science, early-stage startups with those promising new ideas, and established pharmaceutical companies who are always on the lookout for that next breakthrough. By creating these environments where knowledge, resources, and talent can interact easily, it really accelerates the process of turning scientific discoveries into those new therapies and technologies. And the fact that they have these world-class research centers further solidifies Spain's position as this key player in pharmaceutical innovation.
Sounds like they're creating fertile ground for breakthroughs. The report then shifts gears a bit to talk about specific opportunities for pharmaceutical businesses in Spain. One of the first things they highlight is tender opportunities.
Right, so the Spanish public health system and various government agencies, they regularly put out these tenders. It's basically a formal bidding process for supplying all kinds of things. Pharmaceutical products, medical equipment, all kinds of healthcare services. And these tenders represent a significant opportunity for companies wanting to break into the Spanish market, or even those who are already there and want to expand their footprint. There's an example in the source material talking about a tender for the exclusive supply of the drug evinacumab in Madrid. That gives you a real-world illustration of the kinds of lucrative contracts that are up for grabs.
So if you're a company looking for a more direct path into the Spanish healthcare system, those tenders could be a really valuable avenue. Okay, let's move on to industry events in Spain. The report kicks things off with Farmaforum.
Farmaforum is a big annual event that's all about the operational and logistical side of the pharmaceutical industry. Think about things like distribution channels, optimizing the supply chain, and navigating that complex regulatory landscape. These are all essential parts of a smoothly running pharmaceutical sector, so this trade fair provides a great platform for industry professionals to connect, share best practices, and keep up with those constantly evolving regulations.
Right, so that's for the people who are really in the trenches. The report then mentions Reuters events, Pharma 2025 happening in Barcelona. This sounds like a major international get-together, drawing some of the biggest names in the industry.
It is. It's a big deal with a long history. This event attracts global leaders from every corner of the pharmaceutical world. They come together to discuss innovation strategies, potential partnerships, and all the major trends that are shaping the future of the industry. And of course, it's held in Barcelona, which, as we've talked about, is a huge pharmaceutical hub itself.
And finally, there's INFARMA Barcelona 2025, which sounds like it's particularly focused on the pharmacy side of things.
Exactly. INFARMA is actually a combination of a major European pharmacies conference and a massive exhibition of medicines and what they call parapharmaceutical products. It's a key event for pharmacists, pharmacy owners, and pharmaceutical companies, and there's an increasing focus on the evolving role of pharmacies within healthcare, the rising importance of those digital health tools for pharmacists, and all the latest developments in pharmaceutical products and patient care.
So if you're looking to get a real feel for the Spanish pharmaceutical market up close and personal, attending these events seems like a smart move. The source also highlights the major geographical hubs within Spain, singling out Barcelona and Madrid as those key centers of activity.
Barcelona really stands out as that leading hub. It's home to more than half of Spain's pharmaceutical and biotech companies, including those major domestic players like Almirall and Grifols. Madrid, while also being super important, has a larger concentration of the world's biggest multinational pharmaceutical corporations, many of which have major research and development centers in the region. And then you've got Valencia, which is becoming increasingly attractive. That's largely due to its skilled workforce and government policies that are designed to support growth in the sector.
So it's pretty clear that Spain has a dynamic and really substantial pharmaceutical landscape. So just to recap some key takeaways here. The Spanish pharmaceutical market, it's not just large, ranking among the top 10 globally, but it's also on this solid growth trajectory. And that growth is being fueled by those increasing generics, those advancements in biotech medicines, and the growing use of digital health solutions. We've also seen that it attracts significant foreign investment, which tells you it's an attractive market with big potential for opportunity.
And given how strongly Spain is positioned as this major pharmaceutical hub and its commitment to driving innovation, it raises a pretty big question. What does the future hold for healthcare access and affordability? Not just in Spain, but potentially across other markets as well.
That's a really important question to consider. And if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, our source has some great suggestions for further investigation. You could look more closely at the specific Spanish government initiatives that are designed to support the growth of generics. You could delve into the research happening within those biotech hubs we discussed, in Barcelona and Madrid, or you could track the advancements in the adoption of those digital health technologies throughout Spain. And of course, taking a closer look at those industry events, Farmaforum, Raiders events, Pharma, and INFARMA could give you an even deeper and more up-to-date understanding of the trends and those key players shaping this market.
At the end of the day, understanding the Spanish pharmaceutical market gives you valuable insight into the broader shifts happening within the global healthcare industry as a whole.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you've gained a clearer picture of the pharmaceutical business in Spain. Until next time.